Welcome to Daily Armor. Today we're going to be in the book of 2 Kings chapter 5. We're going to be looking at several different verses, but I want us to go to 2 Kings chapter 5. I'm going to read verse 1, and we're going to be looking about a condition. I want us to be thinking about those things that we pray about, those things that we're praying for, and we're going to call that our condition. The condition that we are in, the condition that others are in, the condition that different circumstances that we're praying about is in, and it's the condition. This is what we're actually praying about, what we're praying for. This is the prayer. And we're going to look at verse number 1 for this. Now Naaman, captain of the host of the king of Syria, was a great man with his master, and honorable, because by him the Lord had given deliverance unto Syria. He was also a mighty man in valor, but he was a leper. There's his condition. There's his problem. He had a disease. He had a problem with his skin. He was a leper. And he's upset about this. And so he's seeking some counsel. He's seeking healing. And so he sends word to the king of Israel. He's wanting to be healed. The king of Israel gets upset. We see these, this goes on in these other verses. And Elisha hears about it. Elisha is the prophet, the man of God. And he says, bring him to me. So now in verse number 9, now Naaman came with his horses and with his chariot and stood at the door of the house of Elisha. So now he's finally made it to Elisha, and then Elisha doesn't even come out. He sends a messenger. Naaman was a very prominent person. He had a high position, and he was offended by Elisha not coming out, but he sent a messenger. And so many times, if you think about our pastor or a preacher that comes in the pulpit, they are the messenger sent from God. They are the person representing God. They have a message sent from the Lord, and we kind of sometimes we're offended by that. And we're looking here, Naaman is offended. But in this is the commandment that he's been given. So he's got a condition, then he's given a command. These are some instructions for Naaman to do, sent by Elisha through the messenger, sent by the prophet to the messenger. The messenger is relaying the message. In verse number 10, look at verse number 10 with me. And it says, and Elisha sent a messenger unto him, saying, go and wash in Jordan 7 times, and thy flesh shall come again to thee, and thou shalt be clean. So he's got the command. He knows what he's supposed to do. He doesn't like the way that it was delivered. He doesn't like the command that was given. He's thinking that Jordan River, that thing is nasty. I don't want to go in the Jordan River. That's not what I was expecting. How many times when we pray, and the Lord answers our prayer, but He doesn't answer it the way we were expecting. And so then we're complaining about it. We're fussing about it. And so here we've got Naaman is complaining about it. Verse number 11 is the complaint, but Naaman was wroth and went away and said, behold, I thought. See, that's where we have a lot of trouble. It's, behold, I thought. Well, Lord, I thought this is the way you would do it. Lord, I thought that was the way you would do it. Lord, this is not what I thought. This is not happening the way that I thought. And so many times, I know in my prayer life, that's, a lot of probably my problem is it's not the way that I thought. But Naaman was wroth and went away and said, behold, I thought he will surely come out to me and stand and call on the name of the Lord his God and strike his hand over the place and recover the leper. He was expecting this big grand something to happen, and it didn't happen that way. And the instructions were not given that way. So he's very upset here. And we see that he had his servants come around and they kind of intervene. And then finally, Naaman concedes to do it the way that the prophet wants it done. Look at the concession here that we find happens in Naaman's life. In verse number 14, then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God. And the man of God is simply relaying the Lord. He's the messenger, and but this is ultimately from the Lord, and that's what it's all about. Let's read again. Then went he down and dipped himself 7 times in Jordan, according to the saying of the man of God, and his flesh came again like unto the flesh of a little child, and he was clean. So when he conceded to do it the way the message explained it, then he received the cleansing that he was there desiring to begin with. But we're going to find here in verse number 15, which is where we're going to conclude, in verse number 15, the Lord had in mind to do more than what was requested, more than just cleaning somebody from leprosy, more than just healing somebody from leprosy. But so many times the Lord is he's busy about doing more than just what we see on the surface. If we come into the Lord in prayer over a certain condition, a certain circumstance that's going on, and then we even come kind of expecting how we think He's gonna how we think He's gonna do it, then we're missing out on so much. But when we come and we're humbling ourselves, and see, that's what had to happen with Naaman. He came with this great expectation, but he was humbled in the process, and ultimately he really did want to be healed from his leprosy. He wanted to be healed from this skin condition. It was holding him back. It was something he didn't want to live with. But we find here in verse number 15, then more than just the cleansing that took place, but also the corrected view of the Lord. So a lot more is going on here. Let's look in verse number 15. And he returned to the man of God, and he and all his company, and came and stood before him, and said, Behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. Now therefore I pray thee, take a blessing of thy servant. So and that blessing was refused, because we can't do anything to pay for what the Lord's got in store. He's paid it all. He's took care of it all. But we see here, not only did he get cleansed here in the first part of verse number 15 of chapter 5, but also if you look toward in that middle, behold, now I know that there is no God in all the earth but in Israel. There is no God in all the earth but in Israel. That is the one true God. And he had a corrected view of the Lord. This is a man from Syria, and he had heard about the Lord. And instead of thinking that maybe he was one of many, he realized through doing it the way God wanted him to do, through doing it the way that the priest instructions were given to the messenger, and the messenger relayed them to Naaman, and he had to humble himself, and he had to concede to the instructions that were given, and he did receive that cleansing. He was made clean, but he also got a corrected view of God, and that changed him from that day forward. Not just the being clean, not just the getting the healing that he was desiring, but he got so much more. So when we come to the Lord with a condition that we're praying about, we need to come without expecting what we think. It's not about, well, I thought. So many times that we go back to that. But Lord, I thought. But Lord, I thought this. But Lord, I thought that. It's not about what we think. If you think about going to the doctor, and you go to the doctor because you're sick. You go to the physician because you're sick, and then the doctor, through wisdom, realizes that this is what your problem is, but I want to get to the source. I know nowadays so many times that when we go to the doctor, they're not really trying to get to the source of the issue. They're just going to try to treat the symptoms, because you know why? Because we have come to the doctor. We don't really want to know what the problem is. We just want a quick fix. And that's what Naaman was wanting. He was wanting that quick fix. He was like, just come out here, touch it, and I'll be on my way. But the Lord, when he's the great physician, when the Lord is going to we call on the Lord to take care of something, he's going to do more than just treat the symptom. He wants to treat the whole problem. He wants to get to the core of the issue. And here Naaman not only needed cleansing and he needed to be healed of this skin condition, but he also needed that corrected view of God. So if we go to the great physician and we're wanting healing, he's going to get to the core source of the problem. And that's the way doctors used to be. And there's some really good doctors out there still trying to do that, getting to the core of the issue. Not just treating you for the symptom that you're experiencing and get that quick fix. That's not really going to help you. That's only going to be masking an issue that's not went away. And we need to go expecting to, and a lot of times if you go to a doctor that's going to try to find the core of the problem, I bet you that you're going to complain about it. Well, I don't want to do all these tests. Well, I don't want to do this blood work. Well, I don't want to have this test done. Well, do you want the core of the problem to be solved or not? Do you want to find out what is the issue or not? Maybe you have an allergy to something that you don't realize and that you need to abstain from something. Maybe maybe this is the symptom and you're wanting this pain here to go away or this skin condition to go away, but maybe that it's resulting from something over here. Because one thing does have so many times to do with another issue. So when we go to the great physician, when we go to the Lord in prayer and we're coming to him, he's not just going to take care of those things that we want, those symptoms, but he's going to get to the core of the issue. He's going to get to the core of the problem. And it's not going to always happen the way that we think. I go back to, I like that when it says, but I thought, where was that? In verse number 11, but Naaman was wroth and went away and said, behold, I thought. I mean, so many times if we go to the Lord in prayer and then he lets us know, well, this is something that you need to do. And we're like, what in the world's that got to do with anything, Lord? That's our complaint, but we need to comply to what he wants. There might be some things that he wants me to do. There might be some things that he wants me to not do. But ultimately the great physician is going to get to the core of the issue, and we need to just humble ourselves and comply with what he wants. And you know what's going to happen? We're going to be cleansed and we're going to have a corrected view of him. We're going to get so much more than we bargained for. So much more than we bargained for. Naaman left there with a whole different attitude, a whole different experience than what he was expecting. And when we go to the Lord in prayer, when we seek the great physician, when we seek the high priest of which is the Lord himself, we're gonna have to probably do some things or deal with some things that maybe that we're gonna be offended by. But when we humble ourselves before the Lord, that's when the true cleansing, the true source of the problem, the true source of the issue is going to be remedied. And we have to look at the condition, look at those, concede to the commandment that was given, and then we're going to have that cleansed, corrected view of the Lord. Thank you for joining me. I look forward to seeing you again soon.